We are Brightside Theater.
Hey, home theater nerds, welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast, the home theater podcast that's all about the experiences, the sights,
the sounds,
the scenes.
Steve, I love it. The scenes.
Yeah, well, I'm not messing with it tonight.
We're going a little late, not that late night. And the scenes. Bow, chicka, bow, wow. Oh, how you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah. Not bad. Say a little bit croaky, but other than that, I'm okay. Not unwell,
Croaky.
Just too much talking.
Have you ever been croaky, John?
I'm croaky all the time.
Yeah, just don't croak.
No, you've been cranky.
I was born croaky.
No, man, no, it's 6 hours non-stop teaching in very hot classrooms today. And having to sort of raise my voice at certain people, trying to train what we call baby barristers over here, so junior lawyers, and some of them are easier to teach than others and easier to train than others. And
isn't that the way?
Those days, well, quite.
That's normal. That's normal for any occupation, no?
Some are easier than others, though.
It's a little more detrimental to you guys. I was represented by a trainee.
Yeah.
Poorly trained trainee.
Yeah. Some of them will be lucky to get that far.
Right.
Yes, but there we go. So lots of little bit croaky, and my voice is fading fast, but I'll do what I can to stay with it. Might end up being like Love Actually by the end. I'll just be holding up cards.
There you go.
Prepare for awesomeness. This was good. Looked stunning. All that stuff.
My hand would cramp up if I had to do this with cards. I just talk so much. I'd be like that.
It'd be like a flip book.
Yeah, exactly. Chat's going hot here. It's going. I mean, they've been chatting away. I didn't even know. I'm reading the chat here, but thanks to everybody in the chat. Mike Van Gool, one of the newer members, Patreon supporters, signed up last week. Thank you, Jay. That's what Jay. Also on Patreon is Paul Hurt, new member as well, joined in last week. And so we scheduled our Zoom meeting. I'm moving him to 5:00, so hopefully he can participate, and maybe you could, Steve, too. It's next one is Monday night.
Okay.
Monday night Zoom meeting with everybody. Last one was really good. I had like 8-9 people in and out at different times coming in, but we went for like 3.5 hours chatting. And WV Brew was in there.
It'll be cool to put faces to names.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about Zoom.
Yeah.
It's like, at the moment I think of Paul Hurton and I just see a little furry kid. And then I realize it's the dog.
That's right. You guys don't know a lot of it. Like, I know them. I know a lot of their faces from doing Takeover Tuesdays with them. Right. But you're right. So like people there is a chat in there too on Patreon. They just started it, and it's only on the app though. You can't do it on your computer, so I can't pop in as much as I'd like. But Mike was in there, Mark, WV, and John Mensor. So Mark Hader was in there. I'm trying to think of who. Gurinder popped in and out a few times. I'm trying to think of who else. Sorry if I forgot anybody, but also had. But the next morning, I wake up. WV quadrupled his Patreon support. I was like, that when we were talking about getting more support and stuff like that, and I was like, I didn't mean from you.
Did you do an advert, Deej?
No. We chat about everything, but we had a good time. But he was just. And I was like, thank you so much. And he's like, no. You know what he actually put? I think I might have copied it, but he wrote it. His reply was, he goes, I pay $20 a month for HBO Max. You guys are worth that. I like you more than HBO Max. I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, HBO, I mean, it's 2 shows a week, but I mean, all right.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No reruns
Appreciate
from
that.
us.
Yeah, well, yeah, I kind of did last week on that live show, and then today's Takeover Tuesday. But sorry about that to people that saw the live show and participated in the live show last week with Brett and Giles. But I do have, I mean, substantially larger audio only listeners than we do video, so I thought that would be fair. And it was just supposed to be me and Giles hanging out, but then Zapiti did their thing. We'll get to that in a second here in the chat. And then Brett, of course, we were talking, and if you heard the interview, he was like, I gotta get in there too. I'm like, come on, let's go. And yeah, and Youthman popped in the chat too on that one that night, so that was a good time. But I'm reading in the chat here that Kaleidescape's doing a sale. Because of Zapiti. Did you guys see this?
Yeah. They're giving movie store credits if you buy certain systems.
Yeah, I think the
Zapiti owner, or I guess you don't have to be a Zapiti owner. Maybe you'd have to prove that you came from.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. But it's basically for new purchases they're giving you, and it's substantial. It's like
it's
$700 in movie credits.
I think 800 was the lowest.
Yeah,
and then and I saw Eddie Troches here has the Stratos C $3,000 in movie credits.
Right.
So
so that's about 100 films
4
or
movies.
one Barbie.
No.
Well, but I think if you're doing
one Barbie,
but if you do disc to digital, you can get quite a few movies.
Yeah.
The problem I'm wondering is how many people with Zapitis kept their physical discs once they ripped them. A lot of them probably.
I would hope so. I did.
You did, but that doesn't mean everybody did.
Right.
A lot of people probably bought them, ripped them, and then sold them to recover some of the cost of their equipment.
Yeah.
So
true. That's and that's why they're out of business.
Right.
Because they're not, that's the issue that we talked. We don't have to rehash everything here, but that's pretty much the biggest issue, right, guys? I mean, that's the, but yeah, look, chat's going crazy. It's good times. Yeah. Who's it? Let's see.
We have some new peeps.
Yeah. Who's this?
Yeah.
How would you say that, Steve?
I have no idea. That's European. Paul. I don't know. I'm not sure. Paul.
Cosnes.
That looks Nordic to me.
Okay,
but I'm not sure. I think it is, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, perhaps. Paul. Pal. Pill. Pal.
Another PK.
Yes. Yeah. Let's just say Sisu, and then it'll be a lot easier, and it's all fine. It's all good.
Oh, let's see who else. Any other newer ones that we missed?
Eddie Trichet's not new. Then seems new.
Maybe he is new. They're throwing a bone, and I can't say anything bad about it. They could ignore it, but they chose not to. Talking about Kaleidescape.
Norwegian.
Is it
right? Yeah,
Paul.
right. Brilliant.
Nice.
Paul. There you go. Thanks, Paul.
Just like Paul. Okay, cool. Yeah. Paul. There we go. But I know Eddie from he was in the live chat with Giles and Brett last week. So that's why maybe he's new to this live stream. So yeah, it's, if I don't want to get to the end of the show and forget, but next week's Takeover Tuesday, another 3+ hours, but you're going to want to block out some time for this one because it's a listener. He'd been a listener for a while. And then he reached out to us after Cedia because he just so happens to have an Anthony Gramani system set up by Anthony Gramani himself. And we went, from conception to meeting DJ, the description. And I hadn't seen a picture of it, and it actually helped me asking him and talking to him because it's going to be audio only. And I saw the pictures afterwards, and I was thinking, I'm like, if I'd already seen these when I sat down to talk to him, I wouldn't have probably asked some of the questions that I asked because I was like, give me an idea. So I think he did such a good job describing everything, telling us everything that he got out, the process that Anthony goes through, how long it took and all that. And it's just fascinating story to listen to. And he had all the information, except I can't remember what it was, but there was one thing I asked him and he goes, I knew you were going to ask me that. And he forgot what it was, but 3.5 hours and one thing, it was like one small detail. And it was like, if you asked me the name of my audio processor right now, I'd be like, oh, it's a Marantz. It's got a bunch of numbers. I don't know. So check that out on Tuesday. Might start spelling my name like that.
Yeah. It's cooler.
Yeah. It's unique. All right. Let's see. What else do we... Oh, boy. Let me see. We have... This was pretty cool. Listener sent this to me. Not really. I'm sorry, I forgot who sent it to us, but the late Eddie Van Halen saying, I will always be with you. Just push play. So that was pretty cool. Sad, but cool, because that's what we say here. Just push play. But we also have, let's see.
It looks a bit like Valerie Bertinelli there, too.
He did for a lot of his life until he cut it later on. This is clearly early on in his life, in his career.
Married, right? They would
probably. Yeah. Well, does he look like her? Or does she look like him?
I don't know. He's probably older, right?
Yeah. So this month's donation already went out. So Todd tweeted this out the other day, Operation Second Chance. It's like a 300-mile ride. Friends today this is what Todd tweeted, today over 150 cyclists are part of Ride Allegheny. Allegheny. Okay, thank you. Embark on a 310-mile trek from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C., raising funds to support veterans in Operation Second Chance. Please consider donating my good friend Silvio Renzi and this amazing cause. It can be your feel-good moment of the day. So I will put this link in the show notes as well. If you want to go and donate to that, I gave $200 for this month. I have a friend who works for Operation Second Chance. I think that's what it's exactly who he works for, but he works for, since getting out of the service, he now works for people with all of these conditions, from like just amputees, injuries, PTSD and all of this stuff. So, and like I tweeted out when I said that I had donated, it's like he needs the help. My friend does. And he doesn't do it because he's too busy helping other people. So, great cause. Grabbed it right away. Signed up. So it's on there. So go to the link in the show notes if you want to give. Really appreciate it. So great cause. And then last month's cause, which was this More Pig, Less Cancer event, got postponed from last month to just this past weekend that I attended. And wow, that was an amazing roller coaster ride. It was huge. The cops came. It's in these people's backyard, but it was, when I say that, I can't describe how big this was. It was enormous. Last year they raised like $80-something thousand. This year their goal was 75. I don't know how far they got, but they were up there.
127,880.
Right, that's to date.
Yeah, that's
it was something, and that needs to be updated because I took this picture a while ago. So they're raising crazy money for a great cause. There was one family, they were doing a live auction, and there was one family, one couple up there who had lost their son, and you're just like the whole place is just like, oh, and you're like, oh. It just crushes you. But then then they go to the live auction, and I'm like, oh my God, I just want to buy everything. It's like, take my money, leave me alone. I just feel bad. I just want to help. So, but that was last month.
How unruly did it get though, Deej? Did it go absolutely crazy? Because if the cops came, then something bad really happened.
It's no. It was because it's in a neighborhood is what happened, and it's like a really secluded neighborhood. They each have like decent sized lots, and this was in Franklin, and it's way out in the back, but the sound system they have was absolutely incredible. and like my brother's band played, and it was the best he's ever sounded. The whole band. It was like $2,500 was the rental for this system, and there's a guy in the back. They had reverb going. It was so loud, but even just talking on the cops showed up not when my brother was playing. It was when they were just talking, and the gentleman running the thing, he's just on the microphone, but the voice is just going out, and people like a half a mile away were like, "What is going on over there?" And it was just just microphones and band music. Nobody's getting crazy, so. But it was a great event, and somebody involved is trying to organize it so they can do it at Gillette next year, which would be huge. Which would be, I mean, you just get more people and be able to raise more money. So, so that was really, really cool. So those are the last 2 months for the donations, yeah. All right. As I said, Patreon support, we talked about that already. 50% or more goes to charity. Let's see, do you guys want to get to home theater experiences now, or do you I'm going to
let's get to it.
Show my theater again when we get to my, in the middle of it. But I did some images so that hopefully you guys, and then we'll do the same thing for you guys week after week. All right. Let's see. Let's get to our home theater experience. Oh, that's not the button. That's not it. That's not it. All right. Let's go. All right. We're going to start off here with, let's see. Let's just start off quick with my scenes for the week. We'll get these out of the way. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning came out this week, today, as a matter of fact, and it looks and sounds just like you think it would. It was awesome. I didn't watch the whole thing, but what I did see, it was everything you've always wanted. Definitely a disc to pick up. I would have watched the whole thing, but it's October and I'm trying to stick to horror movies. And I'm really, really enjoying that. We'll get to more of that later, but Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, if you haven't seen it, which I know some people are waiting for the disc. Greg, who I talked to yesterday, you'll hear from next week. He doesn't even go to the theaters anymore, but he has a Grimani system. So why would you? But he's waiting to see that in his theater. The opening scene for this, what I thought was really cool is it's like the opening credits and music. Okay. It starts front heavy like you would expect. Not even expect, but you just, when I do open it, when I watch a movie, I'm like, what can I say about the opening? Is it dynamic? Is it this? Are they trying to suck you in? Just when you pop this in for the first time and you push play, you'll hear everything at the front of your room, but hang on, because it's getting louder and it's coming at you, and then it starts to envelop you, and then I believe, I don't want to give it away, but you'll see what happens because something is coming at you, but the sound just comes right at you. It's nothing specific. It's not like Evil Dead Rise, where you had that scene of the drone, right?
Or the fly.
Yeah. This was just like, it just sound just creeping at you, which was really cool. But then you do get a pretty decent action scene with tons of bass, tons of clarity. Probably about, I would say, good 4 minutes, I think. You guys have all seen the movie, right, guys?
Yeah, but I don't remember it at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you'll know as soon as you see it, but it's like, it is really, really good. And just let it play out. It is practically a push play demo scene. Really, really good. The next one I have, let's see, technical difficulties today. Prey in 4K. I did, we called it a 4K disc. This is the 4K disc. I redid the tomahawk scene at the 3-minute mark, but now it was Operation 236. So 2 being Apple TV, and then 3 being the 4K disc, and then 6 being Apple TV UK with Dolby Atmos. So it's, the streaming with Dolby Atmos. As I said last week, this scene here, it's, going from the Hulu stream, which I don't know what the heck they're doing with their sound, to the Atmos in the UK that you can get on Disney Plus. It was a nice upgrade. It was an upgrade, but it wasn't huge. Like if you had to leave a room and go someplace else, you might not even know. Go into the 4K disc, it's just so much more dynamic, so much more detail in it, and the weight of the sound at this scene. And I say the weight of the sound, it's just like a fuller, more like when that tomahawk goes, there's more. Yep. I just saw Greg's comment, right? No spoilers. And he's talking about Mission Impossible. But that tomahawk going through the air and then the echoes behind you, the clarity of when the tomahawk goes into the tree, the high pitch, the snap, it's so much better going back and forth. I all but skipped the American Hulu and just went back and forth between 3 and 6. And it is a noticeable difference. And it's, again, streaming's doing well. It's getting there, but it's not there yet. And what you get on a physical disc is so much better, so much more dynamic. And I don't know. It's not just volume either. It's frequency. You get more frequencies and everything like that. So it's really, really good. So really, really enjoyed that. Those were my 2 scenes.
Yep. Jordan says in the chat about you can't wait for the 4K disc and wondering if it's got the IMAX ratio shift. Does the Kaleidescape have that?
On which one?
On Dead Reckoning.
I don't know. I don't believe so. No. You know how I know? I didn't get to that part. What are we doing here? Did I put somebody?
That's your extra one.
That's my extra. Yeah. Good thing it's not. No. I didn't get that far, and I didn't even notice one. So no. I would say on Kaleidescape, there's no variable aspect ratio on this particular movie. And
it won't be on disc, then one would imagine.
I don't know, because sometimes they do. Like, for instance, I'd have to research that, but Dark Knight in 4K has no variable aspect ratio, but the HD version does.
That's going back a bit now, though, isn't it? Modern ones, it's been variable aspect ratio on Kaleidescape and on disc. It's rare, isn't it, now on new movies that you'd have it on one and not the other? I mean, look at again, Paramount movies. Look at Maverick. Look at their Transformers movies. When they do shift, it shifts on both or not at all.
Yeah.
Certainly the signs aren't.
You're
good,
right. You might be right. What's that?
The signs aren't good. If it doesn't do it on the Kaleidescape, it suggests it won't do that on the disc. Not that I'm particularly fussed about it, but it would be nice, I suppose.
I can't guarantee it though. Honestly, I can't. I mean, they have had variable aspect ratios. So I'm trying to think of the last time it happened on Kaleidescape, where Kaleidescape got your, a cinemascope and the disc got variable. I can't think of the last time. You're right. Maybe that is an older feature, but, I don't know. But, usually if it's in variable aspect ratio, it'll tell you like the aspect ratio they'll tell you is 185, right? And then it'll come down to a scope screen or 2.4, 2.4. But I believe this one just lists itself at 2.4. So you'd set your screen, whatever, to 2.4. So, all right. You ready, Steve, for your...
lay it on me.
For your next one. Actually, let me... I'm trying something new here, too. Where is it?
Hold music.
Yeah, I know.
Please wait.
I know. No,
it's important to us.
Yeah, I know. Your call is important to us. Exactly. Oh, well. All right. We'll try it later. There you go, Steve.
Right. Okay. So yeah. So this is Gen V, the Boys spin-off series, which I have heard peculiarly very little about online on social
There's the
media,
audio.
other than me. So yeah, there's no one talking about it. It's almost like it doesn't exist. Very strange.
Did you enjoy
guys-
it?
Well, this is the thing. So you guys have seen The Boys 1, 2, and 3. You guys are fan of The Boys TV series,
I've
aren't you?
seen that, and I've seen all of this. So
Oh, okay.
I've
Oh,
seen
wow.
one episode of this.
I've seen all 4 episodes.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, I'm only 2 episodes in now. I've not got to 3 yet. But so this is the spin-off series. This is about the university where they train their supes, and they either go into crime fighting or go into kind of media work, which I think is quite a funny setup. And so far I've only seen it in the front room. I haven't watched it in the cinema room because the person I'm watching it with is not that bothered. And it is Amazon, and it's not in Dolby Atmos, I don't think.
It's not.
It
is not.
And it's not, it's not really, I think, at the moment terribly cinematic either. So I can't really review the audio or the video really, but I'm enjoying it. I think it's good. They've certainly not shied away from the graphic nature of the show and the story, and episode 1 very much confirms that. And it's one of those things where, as you're watching it, you're thinking, am I seeing what I think I'm seeing? Yes, I am seeing what I think I'm seeing. They really did go there. And for that alone, it's sort of quite fun. So really enjoying it. What do you think, having seen 4 then, John? What's your view of the...
Yeah, it has its moments. I'm enjoying it. I don't think it's The Boys, I mean, it's not quite as compelling as The Boys, I don't think. Maybe I'm not into the characters as much yet, but it definitely had its moments, and it's just as bloody, just as graphic, just as adult as The Boys was. But yeah, and watching it on my projector with surround sound and all that, it's fine. But yeah, it hasn't done anything to blow me away as far as the audio goes. It's there, it's doing what it's supposed to do. I mean, it's in 5.1 being upmixed into Neural X, and it does what it's supposed to do, but it's nothing, to write home about, really.
Yeah, it hasn't been anything that I've thought I got to hit pause and I've got to go into the cinema room and watch it from there, like The Last of Us sort of was, right. If I had that opportunity, where you're like, this has to be seen big screen. There is no other way of doing this. This hasn't reached those sites. And even The Boys, I think, is more cinematic than this. Where you've got the big city shots and Homelander and flying around and all the rest of it. That's shot with a big screen in mind, I think. Whereas this is rather televisual, although I appreciate they're both TV series, but it seems like this has been shot on a smaller scale, at least at the moment.
Well, and I think because your setting is smaller here, right?
Yeah,
like
indeed.
Boys
exactly
is global, right? Like they're all over the place. Here we're in the school, and that's pretty much it. So at least so far. I mean, I don't know where it's going to go eventually, but I think it's a smaller smaller locations, and things like that too. So, which
suggests they're trying to keep it small, see if it takes off. Not, if you'll forgive the pun, bearing in mind we're dealing with super people. But I think that's what it is, isn't it? I think it's kind of, let's see if people like it. If they embrace it, we'll throw it open next season. And there may be a little bit of uncertainty there. What did you make of it with one episode, Deej?
Nothing really grabbed me. I thought it was okay. I feel like this is just they're just trying to, it's like shock television. They're just trying to get you like, oh, this hasn't been done before. Let's do this. And we'll write a story we'll write a scene around it. So that to me is
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Well, you had several scenes like that in The Boys too.
That's what I mean. It's knowing this, what comic this was taken from, like we know, like the comic's even worse, but it's older. I don't know. How long ago did that the university
comic?
version, of this, which this was taken from?
I don't remember there even being a comic of this.
Yeah, isn't this a new one?
No.
I know The Boys is from a comic. I don't remember there being a comic for this.
No, not GenV, but it was The Boys, but it was
The Boys, right?
But
yeah.
it was The Boys comic, but there was one that there was I don't know if it was a series of The Boys but it took place at a
That's what
college.
I'm saying. I don't remember there. I don't remember that.
And it was like this. It was just like crazy.
But
right?
the series is a good 15 years old at least.
Yeah.
I mean, The Boys, the comic it's been around for a little bit.
But to me, I was just like, at the end of the episode, I was like, okay, so I can expect more of just the same. Like, okay, we're going to have more scenes of guts and weird things.
I mean, there is a bit of story developing, having seen 4 episodes. I mean, there is some story taking place. So
I was struggling a bit with the names. Come sort of midway through episode 2. I'm thinking, whereas with the series, quite quickly you got Queen Maeve, Homelander, right? Okay, I know who that is.
Yeah,
you could kind of see that. Whereas with this, because they're not yet soups as we know them, they're using normal names, and I must admit I was losing the thread a little bit, thinking, right, sorry, who was this and who was that and when were they? And whereas when it's Homelander, Queen Maeve, and Lamplighter, you're like, oh, okay, I know who that is because they've got distinctive kind of looks, if not distinctive characters. So there's I'm struggling with that a little bit with episode 2, but I'm sure as it goes on it'll be fine. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. In the same way as I enjoy The Boys, in as much as very often you're sort of looking through your fingers and thinking, am I really seeing what I think I'm seeing? Have they really gone there? And you're like, yeah, they have. And shock television, Deej, is a perfect, perfect description for it, because it is definitely showing things that you've never seen before, that you can just imagine.
You can't unsee.
Yeah.
Well, that is talk about It's a Small World.
Yeah.
But anyway, and I think that you can kind of, it is. You can imagine the pitch meetings, can't you? We've got an idea.
Right.
All right. What is it?
Yeah. What wasn't
you better
allowed?
brace yourself. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
What got turned down?
Yeah.
Yeah. That genre pushing thing we pitched you last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to go about 20 miles beyond that this week. Is that okay? Just like, oh my God, really? So they're not afraid to show anything.
Home theater wise, the other thing I noticed was this is for some reason, and Paul Hurt in the chat can comment to this, is 44 instead of being 48 kilohertz, it was 41 or 44.1 or something, whatever it is, but the lower one, because I happen to be scrolling on my the app on my Marantz, and you can scroll over and it'll tell you what's going through, and most of the time it's 48 kilohertz, which is the standard of sound. And this one, Amazon's using for the lower one, the 41 point whatever it is, which that was surprising to me. I also found that, but also Peacock is using that as well. I found that out. I looked at that too, and that one sounded really good. The Amazon here, like you guys said, this really isn't a home theater experience really much at all. I mean, you can watch it in there, but it's just nothing really really did anything for me home theater wise.
Amazon making cutbacks, you think, trying to save some money? I mean, the rumors are flying that they're not doing too well with Amazon Prime. I mean, they're going with adverts, aren't they? That's their next thing. Yeah. I read something today saying that obviously Rings of Power, only 37% of people that started watching it finished it.
Wow. And
that cost them over $1 billion.
Yeah.
So, maybe they're cutting corners.
Yeah.
No, maybe. Pure speculation. No suing us, please, Mr. Amazon.
Just pure speculation.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for the next one?
Yeah.
All right.
Ooh, yeah, John.
There we go.
What did you think of this?
This was Unhinged. I watched this on Amazon Prime, so it was, just 1080p 5.1. It was a stream. I wasn't going to plop down to import the 4K disc just yet without seeing it, but I wanted to watch it because you guys talked a lot about it. I won't go into a lot of detail because you guys talked about the discs and all that stuff in detail last week. All that being said, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought, he was, as it says, completely unhinged. I thought the experience on Prime was okay. Kind of just like The Boys. It didn't blow me away. Like some of the things you were talking about with the windshield wipers and things like that, they didn't come across quite the same way on the stream. It was fine. But I can definitely see where the disc, would be infinitely better, especially a 4K. Did it have an Atmos track as well? The German disc,
does.
Right?
It's
So
the
4K
Italian one that only
Atmos.
has the 7.1. Yeah.
So I can see where that would be beneficial. Although saying all that, I don't know that this is the movie that I want to watch over and over and over again.
No.
There
Not
was
if you drive a lot.
And there was a really head-scratching scene to me right at the very end that I would have loved to have been able to ask Carl why that took place. And we could go off. I don't want to spoil things for those that haven't seen it, but I did kind of scratch my head a little bit right at the end of the movie. But yeah, I thought it was great. But like I said, I don't know that it's one of these movies that, like, don't know that I'll import the disc for the cost because I don't know how often I'll watch this over and over again. But I did enjoy it. I thought it was excellent. So
I think Carl, knowing him as we know him, would absolutely love that 4-word description there: suspense, action, intense, malicious.
Malicious, yes.
He would love that. I think God would be like, "There's my pitch."
I've never even heard that. I've never even seen that as a category before.
No, me neither. That's class. Look at that.
That's pretty good.
That's
malicious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Malicious.
I didn't notice that. I was just looking at it right before you said it. I was like, I've never seen that before.
That's funny.
What a cool idea. That's what we need to. There's your pitch. What have you got for us, Carl? It's called Unhinged, right? And it's got suspense, action, intense, and it's malicious. Right. Where do we sign?
Yeah.
I did. The other thing that had me, this is not really much of a spoil, but it had me scratching my head a bit that with all the driving and things that were going on, very few cops in sight.
Well, there is. Well,
I mean, there is a scene. Yeah. I mean, I know that eventually, but I see cops when I run a red light. These guys are like, he's all over the place.
Well, you got to keep going.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. It's I mean, we've got to get Carl back on, and there was so much I wanted to ask him about this.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
great.
we could do a podcast of film. I mean, there's loads I want to ask about Last House on the Left, loads about Red Eye. This one, I mean, frankly, I'll do a podcast asking him about his Gremlins 3 script because I want to know all about that. Right. There's just so much I want to ask him. But there's loads in this. And there's little in jokes. I think that, again, knowing him as I know him, and I've got to know him fairly well over the months in terms of DMing and emails and chatting to him. I want to know about Fortnite because there's mention of Fortnite in this, and his son is a gamer, and his son is about this age, and I'm convinced, and I need to ask him.
That was his strategy.
This is a shout out to his son.
Right.
And it's so cool. So yeah, I really like this. I've already seen it 5 times.
I mean, maybe it is rewatch. I don't know.
It's with different kind of people. If you get people around and go, right, want to see something crazy, and especially someone that drives, because I like to ask them a couple of days later. So have you beat your horn at anybody?
Right.
Yeah.
You've done that since? I'll bet you haven't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And Greg in the chat saying I disagree with John 4+ times and definitely watching again soon. He heard us.
Your own.
Yeah,
no,
right. He heard us. I think he said he saw it in the theater, and then he heard us talking about it last week. He's like, I got to see it again. And it's
a crazy film. It really is.
It is
great.
Fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, man, I'm glad you saw it though. That's really cool because
I definitely wanted to see it.
You enjoyed it.
But, and I did like it. Yeah.
All right. It's my turn, right?
Yes.
Yep.
All righty. Here we go with the next one here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Briggs. Right. Come on then.
Oh, yeah. This was so good. I was shocked. So we're talking about Casper. That's it. Ugh. Casper, not Casper, the friendly ghost.
The friendly ghost.
Not Casper, this, that, not, Casper in HD, 1080p, DTS Master Audio 5.1, upmixed, of course. This is Jen and I had so much fun with this one. we were laughing. It's just a fun family movie. It is PG. We were talking afterwards. We were trying to ballpark. Like, I know we have a bunch of listeners with little kids that would be, and we said like 10, 11 years old, depends on where you are with the whole death thing. Cause spoilers, Casper, the friendly ghost, is a kid that had passed away, and they delve in on that a little bit, but it's mostly a fun movie. But Bill Pullman is great. Christina Ricci, really young. I'd forgotten how young she was in this. Great. Like, I was shocked at how fun the special effects were, how great the video was. The video quality on this, I went back even today just to, like, am I remembering this right? This, because we watched it earlier last week. I'm like, we just had so much fun with it. And we were saying, like, if we had little kids, definitely showing this to them, right? And my wife's like, oh, our grandkids are going to see this, which we don't even have yet, but someday. It was that much fun.
You hear that, Meg? If you're listening,
yeah.
Meg and Greg, guys.
But also the sound, awesome. It was up mixed. It had great bass. The opening scene, it's like Casper comes in at some point in the opening scene and he flies around the room. And you can hear him moving around the room. There's a jump scare in the opening scene with using the audio to be like, suddenly changing. It's great use of the entire room for a movie that's this old and only in, HD with, DTS 5.1. I was highly surprised. Like, it was awesome. It was awesome. And it's not Casablanca. It's not like totally like, but I think you would have a great time with it you have kids, sit down. It's a great night. What's this? Present XD. Present XD.
It's Greg, isn't it? Greg is Meg.
Present XD.
Okay. Can I retort?
Yes.
Now, you said it's a really good family film.
Yeah.
And it's a really good movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was. Not so much anymore for me, unfortunately. I really liked it when it came. Was it 95?
Yeah, I think so. 95, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I really liked it when it came out. I've seen it loads of times. Again, way more than is decent, I'm sure. And the cameos are really good. There's some really clever stuff and some, and I won't spoil those, although, if you want to see it, you'd have seen it by now. But there are some very clever cameos in it. And I remember really liking it. And I saw it last year for the first time in a long time. And I was struggling with it quite a bit. And I was watching it with someone who was age appropriate and was, quite enjoying it. But I found it a real trudge all these years later. I just thought the effects weren't that great. I didn't think they'd aged very well. And this was an HD version that I saw.
Was it on disc or did you stream it?
No, it was on. It was streamed, but it was an HD.
Okay.
And the effects weren't that great. The humor wasn't that funny. And I was struggling with it, which I found odd because I really liked it way back when. So yeah, I wouldn't watch it again. I don't think. I think I'm done with this one now. I wouldn't own it. I had the DVD, and I wouldn't replace it with the Blu-ray. They release it in 4K. Well, in fact they won't. Will they? Because it's a DreamWorks movie, and they're now defunct. So unless it gets picked up by someone, that's not going to happen. And I thought it had aged quite badly. Even Eric Idle, who was pretty funny way back when as well, kind of was a bit irritating in this, I found. But I appreciate this just might be me being a bit curmudgeonly, having aged quite a bit since when I last saw it, and it might be that. But it wasn't as good as I remember it. And it even wasn't as sad as when you find out what happened to Casper. I seem to remember that being quite moving years ago, whereas now it's like, okay.
Wow. Yeah, so, I hadn't seen it in years, and I really had forgotten the story. I know, I had an idea, and as things were happening, you're like, oh yeah, this year, and But yeah, we had a blast with it. It was such a great, and it's fairly short too, isn't it? Is it, or is it's like an hour, 40, hour 40, something like that. It's a quick watch for kids. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. And I think, the Blu-ray, I think is a great home theater experience. You'd be shocked, I think. It could have been your streaming. You're not getting the surrounds the way I got them. No. And you're not getting, and that's a big part of it too. And it just looked and sounded awesome. So, and I hadn't seen it in, probably since the Laserdisc days, because I never bought it since then. I haven't bought it since then. So that was part of the fun too.
Well, like I said, I had the DVD, but I never upgraded that. And as I said, it was nice to revisit it. And I thought I was going to really enjoy it. And then it's only as it was going, I'm thinking, this should have stayed in my memory. This is like Krull. It needs to just live in the memory, not update it. Conan for you guys.
When was the last time you saw it, John?
I don't know that I've ever seen it.
Oh,
I have vague
homework
memories of it.
Yeah.
Like, I think I probably did see it once way back in the day, but I couldn't tell you a thing about it. Like, I don't really remember it at all.
Yeah.
So seems like I would have watched it back then, growing up when we did, but I don't remember it at all. So I don't know.
Just quickly, guys, just whilst we do that, because Eddie's mentioned in the chat there, you can see Gran Turismo on DJ's Kaleidescape. Did you guys review that one? I really liked it. We've talked about it briefly, haven't we? But haven't actually reviewed it yet.
Yeah, I took a look at it.
The movie, yeah.
Right. I took a look at the 4K on Kaleidescape, and I'd seen the movie in the theater, so I scanned through it really quick, and it looks and sounded awesome, the scenes that I've seen. I haven't really talked about it yet because, like I said, I'm trying to do all horror movies this month, and this came out literally at the same time. I was like, oh man, now I'm getting into the horror stuff. So I was almost going to watch, but I'm like, nope, sticking to my guns. It's October. So between that and still haven't seen Blue Beetle either. I have that. I bought that. It came out the same day as Gran Turismo. So I haven't seen that yet either. But yeah, it's not like we're not enjoying content, right?
Oh yeah, I think we've got enough to be getting on with.
Yeah. So, all right, ready for the next one?
Lay it on me.
All right, here we go. Steve, I believe this is you.
Oh yeah. Okay, so this is Across the Spider-Verse on 4K disc in Dolby Atmos. Okay. Right. So the movie is well, it's just because it's some interesting stuff to say about this. So the movie is fantastic. And this is now the fourth time I've seen it, or this was the fourth time I've seen it. I saw it in theaters. I saw a screener. I saw the streamed version. And then finally the proper 4K disc in Atmos in the cinema room. Now, there might be some differing opinions here, guys, because, say, the movie's fantastic, like I say. The video on this, I don't think I can say enough superlatives about it. There are images on screen in this film that I'm not sure we have any business having in this quality on our systems, because it is absolutely transcendent at times. There just and in the theaters and then having seen it on streaming, the different animation styles were there and I could see them and I noted them, but they leap off the screen on the 4K disc like nothing else I've seen. As I say, there are screenshots on this. There are sequences in this which just seem beyond anything that we should be able to have access to. It just doesn't seem right somehow. And it's fantastic. And not only, I think, is this reference quality video, I think it's some of the best video I've ever seen, full stop, in terms of the color purity, the black levels, the dynamics, everything on it is fantastically good. And I mean, again, I can only talk superlatives about it. So the video is awesome. Now the audio, I was ever so slightly, minusculely disappointed with the audio. I don't think it's as dynamic as the first one. I don't think the bass is as punchy or deep as the first one. Now, that's not to mean it's not good. It is good, very good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not as strong for me as the first one, which from minute one is just pumping. The bass is shaking, the room is moving. And so I was a little disappointed with the audio, just very slightly. But the video was fantastic, and it's still an amazing disc. And I certainly wouldn't suggest people don't buy it, not that anyone hasn't already got it. But I was just a little disappointed with that, and I'm not used to that with Sony discs, and I'm not used to that with these types of movies either. But I just a little bit. I mean, I know, Deej, you were home theater experience of the year, but what do you think about that? Is that just complete out of left field, or can you see what I'm getting at?
No, I see what you're getting at. I don't think it's that dramatic, though. I mean, if I was, to me, something like that, you'd have to. How do you A/B that even? Right? It's just. I think it's like what would they have done? Right? It could be just the music choices. It could, because I thought the music choices actually lent itself to a pretty dynamic soundtrack.
Yeah, pretty dynamic. Fine. I would agree with that. Yeah,
I think I didn't you guys know I didn't really enjoy this one as much in the theater. I was like, a little taken aback by the end of it, and I was like, what the? Because I'd forgotten. But it was watching it again at home. I didn't feel that way at all, Steve. I was just like you said. I mean, the picture too is so overwhelmingly good. I think that's a credit to the difference of actually having to shoot stuff and light it, as opposed to artistically drawing it exactly the way you want the contrast to be. I mean, what you can do there is just amazing. And then and for us to be able to take that in our theaters and animation in 4K HDR, you'd be like, no, it's amazing. So, I just think the overall experience in the room is, I mean, I think you're picking nits here, buddy. It's I wanted to go a little deeper. Where? I'm not going to say it's super deep, but yeah.
No.
Well,
sorry, did I just do that again? Sorry, that's me.
Oh.
Sorry, I just clicked on it. Sorry, my fault. That's excitement. So I think it's. I
was like, did I just go back in time?
It's not to say it's bad. Yeah. So it's not to say it's bad. No. And I think I'm comparing it with the first one, which I watched again.
Let me ask you this: what did you watch right before this? Did you watch something before? Because sometimes that happens too. Like you'll see something that's like super deep, like you throw Lucy on before this, then you put this on and go, wow, this seems kind of flat. It's not.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm not sure. And that could be right, but it just didn't strike me as from the opening frames of the first one. It's like boom. And it keeps going as the movie goes on. Whereas this one was not as just bass heavy. It just didn't announce itself with such a punch throughout the movie as the others did. And again, that is not to say it's bad. It was very, very good.
Yeah. That opening scene though, with there's no boom because she's playing the drums,
narrating. Yeah,
and it's amazing. It's and doesn't it move and everything? But you can feel the impacts of those beats, but they're not bass beats, like low bass beats. They're like a drum set. So oh my god.
I'll tell you what might have done it. Can you remember John Thompson saying he said way back when in the chat actually, and he said on when the comics logo comes up, the room should move. Is what I remember him saying, something like that. I might be paraphrasing him a little bit. Okay. And so maybe I was waiting. Well, I wasn't. Maybe I was waiting for that, and I just thought, "Oh, here it comes! Here comes the logo! It's going to happen! It's going to happen!" And then it's just like, poof, instead of boom, which the first one did. And so I think that might have set me off a little bit with okay, maybe this is something not quite what I was expecting.
There you go, having expectations.
Yeah. But I mean, for me, audio track is still Evil Dead Rise for this year for me, and this was not that. But I still really liked it, and again, the video on it is fantastically good.
Yeah,
a couple of times I paused it just to stare at it, not even to take pictures for Twitter. It's just to stare at what I was seeing. So I couldn't quite believe my eyes. But there we go. But as I said, do not let anyone be put off from buying it because it's awesome.
Oh God, no.
John, have you seen it at home yet?
No.
Have you had? No,
I haven't picked it
up. Are you going to
yet.
pick it up?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I just haven't done it yet. Which, having not seen it, what I wanted to ask is, did they go back and tweak the opening audio of this? Like, it sounds like they did,
I mean, I had no issues with the voiceover. Now is perfect. Okay. I mean, it's the same as every other vocal track in the film. And I mean, I will say, I did pick up a lot of stuff that I had missed previously in terms of little lines here and there. That I'd missed before, which are all back in it now, and you're like, oh, okay, all right, oh, that was said, this was said, and in fact, I did actually have to go back and check one of the streams that I'd had because I thought there was extra stuff in this, and I'd heard about alternate versions and different things, but I was just seeing it in this thing for the first time, so it wasn't anything different, but it just felt different because of how I was experiencing it. Right. Really, really good.
Yeah. Remember when we saw it in the theater? The audio on this was low.
Well, yeah, that's why I asked.
The entire thing was low.
Well, I think for me, it was just the opening 10 minutes or so. Like her voiceover in the beginning. Once it got past that, I don't remember it being an issue. But I knew that going in because that had already been reported by people that had seen the movie. But I definitely noticed it when I saw it as well. So
I thought it was my hearing when we first saw it because we saw it opening night over here, and I thought my ears were popping. I thought something's wrong with my ears because that opening was so weird. And then I forgot all about it, and I just thought, oh, it's all right. It's my
I think
my ears are fine again now.
I think we saw it like on Sunday, and so I had already heard that people from the first 2 days had already kind of been talking about that, in the theaters. So.
So.
But like I said, please don't anyone think I'm suggesting not to buy it. I'm just comparing it to kind of what I had expected and had heard.
Just being picky.
Against what I had experienced. Well, there we go.
All right. John, you ready for this?
For this one? Always.
Here we go.
Okay, so this was Reptile. This was a new film on Netflix. It was streaming in Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision. For those, it's a new movie, so a lot of people may not know. Had Justin Timberlake, Benicio del Toro, Alicia Silverstone in the first thing I've seen her in, probably since Batman and Robin. I don't know the last time I've seen her do anything. I almost couldn't recognize her, but I had seen her name in the credits, so I knew.
Isn't she legally blonde? Is that legally? Does she?
No, that's Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so this is kind of like your standard cop murder mystery movie. So as far as the movie itself goes, having seen lots of movies in this genre in my lifetime, I figured this thing out about 10 minutes in. So I don't know if that's a testament to the movie or just the fact that, we've seen this formula many, many times. But the performances were excellent. The movie was very, very well done. I wouldn't let that put anybody off from seeing it. But it didn't necessarily surprise me when we got to the end of the movie. As far as the stream itself goes, I thought this was excellent. This had some really, really nice Atmos effects. The video, this is it's like a muted color palette. It's kind of muddy, so it's not going to pop off your screen or anything like that, but it's by design. This is the type of movie that it's kind of like True Detective or something like that on HBO. That kind of swampy color palette that they use, and this has that. It's very clear. It looked really good, but it's not going to pop off your screen like Spider-Verse or anything like that. But yeah, I give it a go. Like, if you haven't seen it, I think it's a good movie. If you've seen a lot of these types of movies, you probably will figure it out as well. But it was well done, and I think it's a good home theater experience. Like I said, for streaming, I thought the Atmos was really, really nice, and the great performances by all the actors here. So it's worth a watch for sure. So. Have
just whilst we're
either of you
talking-
seen it? Neither of you have seen it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I haven't been
No,
on Netflix in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, John, talking about Netflix movies that you recommended, over the last couple of days, I've watched Kate on the iPad. Don't tell me,
Okay.
because I had some time in between the teaching sessions, and I wanted to kill some time. I thought, oh, do you know what? That sounds right up my alley. It's good, actually. Yeah, I
it's a
agree
good
with you.
movie.
I thought it is good. Yeah, I was wondering, and I thought, as you guys are my sort of manga, anime, comic gurus, is it based on a comic or an anime film?
Not that I'm aware of, although it is in that style for sure, right?
Yeah,
but
'cause
not
there
that I'm
was
aware of. Yeah.
There's a shot where she's walking in, and on the building there is a cartoon being projected, or an anime being projected, and it looked like she looks. And I thought, and it was reminding me of Ghost in the Shell, and it's almost identical to that. And I was thinking, yeah, this has got all the hallmarks of an anime. Like this just seems to be. So I didn't know if you guys happen to know whether it was or not.
I don't know.
But
I don't know.
Yeah, no, but it was a really good recommendation. I mean, I wouldn't have even known about it if it hadn't been for you saying. So, I really appreciate you doing that, because it's brightened up my last couple of days.
No problem.
And yeah, it is good, and I can definitely see the John Wickisms in this.
Oh, for sure.
You can tell it's by the same people.
Yeah.
I mean, it just needs a puppy, and then basically we're there.
Yeah. Oh.
But yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's well worth it. I enjoyed it. So
Well, check this out, Joe. Same thing. Like you can iPad this. It's got some nice Atmos, but you won't miss a thing with the movie if you don't have it in a theater setting. Front room or upstairs TV, whatever would be fine.
And in this genre, I will ask you my normal question, John, which is there a courageous defense lawyer that comes along and saves the day?
There is not.
God damn it.
Dang.
Can't see that one.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, I'm going to have to
I gotta find that movie.
One.
Yeah, I gotta find that movie so I can tell you about it.
Eventually you can say, yes, there is. And
yes, there is.
Hot dog. Well, we'll just have to do a time to kill.
Okay.
I think we're going to just I'll have to just force the issue.
My cousin Vinny.
Yes. Yeah. Right.
Eddie in the chat, vigilantly checking our YouTube subscribers. We're at 988 subs, guys. He says, start scheduling that 24
I'm glad you knew what that meant, because I was reading that thinking, I don't know what that means. Something about subwoofers and
No. Yeah, 988 of them.
Yeah, Eddie's gone crazy in his room.
Yeah. Start scheduling that 24 hours.
I was like, I don't know what that means.
7.2.988.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I went to bed last night. I was at 987. I get up this morning. I'm going through my phone. I'm like, oh yeah, let's. I was at 985.
Oh. Well, we've picked up 3 since then.
What the hell? Well, I got one right. Like while I was looking, I got an email. I'm like, oh, new subscriber. Okay, so yeah, got one really. But we lost 2 overnight. I don't know what I did.
Went to sleep.
What we did wrong? We pissed somebody off.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I know where one might come from, but
no. All right. You guys ready for this? You ready to talk a little bit of streaming? We got a couple here to get to. First up, the finale of Ahsoka. We'll let Steve go first, as always, because we just got to let it get it out. And just,
get it out. Yeah.
Sadly, Steve, it's all over.
But
yeah, he'll probably next week. I went through episode 1 again. The greatest show ever on television.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Is it just me?
Probably.
Or is the timing of this episode? Do you think they deliberately did this in October because of the Halloween bent to some of the characters in this episode? Because boy, did it seem like a Halloween special to me.
Really?
I don't want to spoil it. Well, what happens to some of those characters that suddenly it becomes very Halloween-like? No?
Yeah, but that
including
hadn't we heard about that? Because I knew they were coming.
I didn't know. I mean, I didn't know that. And then you even get a view through a helmet with the snapping jaws. I mean,
that was cool.
This is more kind of, this is Ahsoka Dead Rise. And I'm here for that.
Oh, yeah, this is much better than any Dead Rise.
Ouch. Yes, any Rising Dead. I thought the finale was really good. Yeah, I really like
Just
this, and I've had some conversations with some people this week who felt differently, as there always seems to be with any Star Wars. Oh, okay. Oh, right.
I was going to say, though, could we take a minute to appreciate the title of this episode?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, which is Oh, yes,
Jedi,
the
Witch and the Warlord.
Warlord. Yeah.
Quite clever.
Very C.S. Lewis.
Yeah. Quite clever.
But someone should have been called Aslan just to make it I think, and Mr. Tumnus. But I think I thought it was really good. And again, I've spoken to a couple of people this week that thought it was silly, who didn't like the Halloween bit, and also didn't like how the couple of characters transported themselves across large areas, who thought that was silly as well. And I thought it made sense within the confines of the story. I've spoken to some people that didn't like that at all. And I suppose there is an issue, if you haven't seen Rebels, with a meeting of two characters towards the end, which I think is supposed to mean a great deal, but to those of us like me that haven't seen all of Rebels, maybe falls a little flat because you're not that invested. But overall, I thought it was great. And again, I reiterate, I think it's a huge shame that we're not going to see Ray Stevenson again in this role, because I could watch a spin-off of him all day long. It would have been fantastic. So it's such a shame that that's his story done.
Well, and it seems they were trying to lead us there, right? Like his story definitely isn't over.
Quite. And that would, and I get that. And I think that's clear from it, isn't it? I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised for them to have announced a Balon spin-off in and of itself. And I would have been, wow, that'll do. I could just listen to him read the phone book. He's really good. So no, I thought it was great. What did you guys? Oh, sorry. And very quickly, just the home theater, the death from above sequence was great. And it did sound like there was stuff raining down. That was really well done. I really like that. And then when the fortress then has its comeuppance, that sounded really good as well. I thought that was really nice. And obviously we get some home theater stuff for us. TIE fighters, which I maintain are only there for home theater fans.
That's that audio.
When those two go like that, that is only for us. And if you listen to them, you can listen to them fade into the background as well. So it gets like your back wall's just been removed, and you can now listen to them firing off right into the distance. So that was really cool. And again, I maintain it's only for us. That is not for anybody else. It's just for people that have got surround sound kits. Very cool. Anyway, what did you guys think?
I had very similar issues to a lot of the things you were just mentioning, as far as other people having issues that you've been speaking with. Trying to keep this completely spoiler free. This episode fell apart quite a bit for me, honestly. Like, I was a bit let down at the finale, having enjoyed most of the season. I was not a fan of the Halloween elements here. I was not, I did not buy in at all to the characters traversing great distances. And the circumstances around the meeting at the very end of the episode, I have some issues with how that took place as well. So, I know that's very cryptic, but I really don't want to spoil anything. I can't speak at all to any problems with the home. Like, as all 8 episodes, this was a great home theater show. I think the Atmos and everything was fantastic, but it let me down a bit story wise at the end. I don't know that we're getting, I don't know if we're getting season 2 of Ahsoka, or there's like a rumored movie that Filoni is supposed to be working on that's tying all of these things together, because again, spoiler free, but like, we're definitely not done with these characters.
Oh,
so
no.
I don't know where they appear next. Whether it's a season, I haven't heard any rumblings of a season 2 for Ahsoka. So I don't know if that's in the works at all, but I know there was.
To be fair, there's a strike going on and nobody can talk about anything.
True. That's true.
So you're not going to get any rumblings.
Well, we've heard about that movie. We heard about that movie before the strike, right? And that seems to be the plan more so than a season 2 of Ahsoka.
So that's what I heard.
And I don't know if a 2-hour movie is enough to wrap all of this stuff up, though. So, especially since we're talking about wrapping up Ahsoka, the Mandalorian, whatever else he's Boba Fett. Just saw season 2 trailer. But is that
fan-made
that's
one?
probably fan made? Yeah,
right.
I don't know.
Is it fan made?
I haven't seen.
There's nothing
I haven't heard
official
anything
on that.
Not that we're doubting you, Paul, as we now know you're called.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you, John, on that. I haven't heard about a season 2 either. And I mean, I would love one. This is my favorite Star Wars show of them all. Even, I thoroughly enjoyed this. It just got better and better and better for me. And I really like what they did with this. And if they keep pumping out shows of this video and audio quality, then I might even enjoy Andor if they did it like this. Maybe. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I might have done. I think this is great. What did you think then, Deej? What's your overall sort of perception of this one?
I thought it was. I liked it. I thought it was a slight, on the down curve from the season, which is what I mean. It's such a great season that it's like it's hard to go out on a high note like they did in Mandalorian season 2. But this, I had a good time with it. I thought I loved all the things that you guys aren't fans of, because
just me. Steve is a fan of all of it.
I think I think that that Halloween stuff, you got to take into account where this takes place in the timeline and what this could potentially be meaning for like plot fillers going forward, right? To get us to the next part that we already know exists. So I think there's a lot of fun stuff here that they're trying to develop and they're trying to do. Who knows? They could do another animated series after this, right? This could be the middle part. You go from Rebels or, Clone Wars, Rebels, and now you have live action Ahsoka, go back to an animated series, then come out and do another live action. There, it's endless. And they could do so many different stories, especially based off of how they're pushing these storylines. There's a lot of the stuff that showed up in this show this season has all been done in one place or another, or we knew about it. So it seems like they're trying to make branches off of this Skywalker saga, right? And they're making these branches to have other stories going other places, which is kind of what the fans were all talking about. Like, we're done with the Skywalker saga. Like, give us something else. But you can't just jump any place else in a galaxy. It has to have a thread back. And I think a lot of these series, Mandalorian, Ahsoka, even Obi-Wan, all these, they're bringing in different threads that could be something else later. They don't have to be. And to the point, like, we don't know anything yet. A lot of the times what they do is as the series is going, if it's going well, they'll announce season 2, yay, and then there'll be a something at the end, right after the credits. Ahsoka will return or something. I know they do that in Marvel, but they can't do that now. They're in a strike. They don't know who's going to be where, who's going to say what. Are any of these actors going to come back and do this? So there's a lot of stuff up in the air. So maybe that's why we have no idea. And the fact that we had stuff from before the strike about a movie or something, that's just, we got that information, but that was before. So
see here, and I'm not the writer here. And so obviously I don't get to have the final say in what's happening, but we all know that all of these characters are noticeably absent from the sequel trilogy forward. There's no mention at all of Thrawn, Ezra, Ahsoka. What happens to them? The perfect ending of this show is that none of them get out of that galaxy. Everybody gets stranded there. They go on to have seasons of adventures in this new galaxy, explaining why they're never heard from again. And then we go on, with whatever they're doing in the, main universe. And that is honest. And again, maybe it's expectation, but I really thought that's where this thing was going to end. The fact that it didn't end there is not what I didn't like about the episode, but I think it was a wasted opportunity because there's a whole universe now. It's kind of like Star Trek Voyager, which I know you guys aren't Trekkies, but the biggest thing with that show is like, here's an Enterprise ship or a starship that gets transported millions of light years away from home. and they have to then have all these adventures in galaxies uncharted with no contact from anybody they've known. That's what this show should have been, at least in my opinion. Not the writer, but I feel like there was potential for these characters to all exist now. Now you've got the struggle with Ezra and Sabine and Ahsoka and Thrawn and all of that stuff happening away from the First Order and everything that happens with the Skywalkers and all that. So, my unrequited wish for what should have happened, but
it could still happen. They could all get dragged back. Those space whales are hungry.
I guess.
It could happen. That might be the end of the movie.
Right.
That the bringing them all together movie. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean that is a legitimate question, isn't it? As to why and where are these people now in Rise of Skywalker? Though at the end, when you hear all the voices, isn't Ahsoka in that?
Yep. Yeah.
Isn't someone using her?
I think so. Yeah, I think
she is one of them.
And which would imply that she's dead.
Not really, because she's been there and back.
The world twice. Between worlds. Yeah.
She's been there twice. Yeah. So that's the thing, is she could still be there. She could still be alive at the end of, Rise of Skywalker. She's that age too. She's younger. No, she's older than Luke.
Yes.
So
she may age differently anyway. We don't. I mean,
that's true too. Idea. Yeah, you can't even go by that. That's a great point. Oh. But yeah, so she could still be alive. Somebody had already mentioned that. It's like she's been quote dead and back twice. So you don't know, and who knows how they're going to write that. It's like she was a huge part of the Clone Wars and never once showed up in 4 or 5. Obviously. No kidding. They took place in the 70s and 80s, but it's not unlike a character to not be there. So.
Absent from all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And, so.
Yeah. And that's what's fun. It's like there's other things going on elsewhere. We just, we did the Skywalker saga, but there were other battles other than just what Skywalker went through and his merry band of rebels.
Just grabbing some stuff from the chat, guys, just so we're not ignoring people, because we get wrapped up in this, don't we? And then we start. Damn it! Sorry, John. Yeah, that's also John. Yeah, just got out. Well done. Good. That was good, John. Deej, you just did it for sort of.
Yes, I did, Brock.
John's head off. That was great. Yes, I knew that too as well. Yeah. So he said, did you guys realize the witch was played by the daughter of Dan Inosanto, Bruce Lee's most famous and most senior student, by the way? Just a little trivia. Yeah, she is his daughter.
Uncle Bruce, she called him.
Yeah. The fighting, I think, in the last episode was a little slow for me.
I was going to ask you that, because it felt it felt staged. Like the choreography there, especially with the Halloween characters. I thought the choreography in this last episode was off. Like it didn't look real to me.
It did look stagey, didn't it? It looked like a sort of theatrical presentation.
I thought that was just me, but
no, it was. It needed to be either sped up or face replacements and have it done by 2 younger participants, which these days they can do pretty seamlessly. That's another conversation I had with a couple of people this week as well. I think there were some things there, but she is. We do know that. And then who else do we get? Oh, good old Travis dropping in. And just saying, too much homework for these shows. Seems like I have a dedicated year of my life to watching a bunch of stuff to understand. Do you have to, though? Because I haven't seen all of Rebels, and yet I know enough about it to enjoy Ahsoka very much. You might not get all of the pathos with some of the characters meeting, but I think you can still get something from it.
I think it helps. It definitely helps.
Yeah.
It helps to have seen that, but I don't know if it's essential. Although, again, criticisms I've heard from people that know very little about Clone Wars or Rebels is that they did not feel welcomed into this show at all. And so maybe maybe you do have to, maybe enough, Steve, that it didn't bother you as much as somebody that didn't know anything,
So
I
I knew enough about it from the one episode of Rebels I'd seen, and then just general kind of information to know what was going on with it. And I perhaps didn't get all the pathos of it, but I still love the series. But I think again, I loved it because of how it looked and how it sounded and how it and also how it was staged generally. I thought it was great, but there we go. I think the next time we'll see them will be in a film. I don't think that we certainly haven't heard anything about a season 2.
Right.
But also I haven't heard anything about ratings on this. Disney haven't said anything about it as far as I've seen.
Never do though, really.
Right.
Like they're
but look at
notorious for
Prey was
not.
out.
Yeah.
Well, quite. When Prey came out, they were talking. Oh my God, it's great. It's
Right.
huge numbers. When Pixar movies come out, we've done massive numbers. And yet, this one just seems to have come and quietly gone.
I don't remember them talking about Andor or Secret Invasion or any of their other streamers either. So I don't know.
It is kind of one of the things they're striking over. There's no
part of it is.
There's no they have no idea what the
viewership
ratings, the viewership
ratings,
is.
right.
There's no accountability to it. So, okay. All right. We ready for the next one? We'll have a few quick words on this. Continental wrapped up 3 episodes. Steve, have you jumped in on this yet? No,
not yet. I've been watching something else in the John Wick style thing, Kate. I've been doing a different kind of John Wickness.
There you go. Before we get to the home theater part, I haven't finished this yet. I'm waiting to finish it with Joe. But before we get to the home theater part of it, John, I wanted to ask you, now that it's over and we've had all 3 episodes, what'd you think of 3 1 hour, like basically 115, 120, something like that? 3 episodes like that as opposed to, say, 6 episodes of 40 minutes.
It didn't bother me. Although having listened to, no spoilers, Stephen, we won't. Having listened to the latest Fat Man on Batman podcast, where Mark Bernardin, who was in the writer's room for this show, described that this was conceived as a 10 1 hour episode season that got kind of butchered down into 4.5 hours. And so they took a lot of elements and mashed them together to make this 4.5, 5 hour movie as opposed to 10 hours worth of series. I don't know. It's odd to me why that would be the case. Like, I don't know why they would make that choice, because they had 10 written episodes. They had episodes and scripts ready to go. So I don't know if it came down to budget or, they had to pay Mel Gibson more than they thought. So they had to cut 4 episodes out of this. But having watched it all, and I will say, I was a little dubious about it at first, but I did come around and I did kind of enjoy it when all was said and done. But I can see where another 3.5, 4 hours worth of story content would have made this a little bit more cohesive and a little bit easier to deal with. So it's just odd. Like, I don't know why that happened. And he was not able to go into a lot of details because they were at the time of the recording that episode, they were still striking. And so he couldn't go into tons of detail about it. Or maybe it had just lifted, I guess, because he did talk about it. So maybe it had just lifted. But wasn't able to go into too much detail because of the SAG strike or what have you. I don't know. But yeah, it's interesting the way they did that. But it didn't bother me. Like the time, I thought it was fine. If you're going to sit down for 45 or 50 minutes, what's another 20, another 20 minutes isn't that bad.
I thought the episodes carried well. Like, they played really well. It's not like you were sitting there going, oh my God, this is long. It's
right.
You actually got a full, story in each episode. And I kind of liked it instead of, I think that the shorter ones at times you can be like, oh, that was too short, because they kind of leave you hanging. And then the next week you're all ramped up. And I think that's why you get that roller coaster of, oh, this week wasn't as good, because you're left hanging. And then the following week just can't live up to where you just ended. Right. Where these just seemed more full and good stories from, each week. And again, I wish there were more of them. That would have been cool if we got at least 2 more, Probably would have filled it out a little nicer. But
yeah, I think it would. There was a few things that felt a little rushed, like I said, in squeezed together. But now knowing what I heard, I can see why that happened. Even though even if I don't know why it happened.
Yeah.
So
home theater wise, I think for Peacock, I thought the 4K was really good. Really enjoyable. Good quality. Like we said before, I think of like the Batman, that type of HDR, and also the audio. I thought it's only 5.1, and like I said earlier in the show, it was that 44.1, not the 48. I checked today. Right. And it still sounds really, really good. Very enveloping, a lot of great use overhead. I actually did a little bit of A-Bing here, actually more of an A-B-C-D-ing. It was the opening scene, and they have the opening credits and the music. I went through and I listened to it in just multi-channel, right? So no upmixing whatsoever. And then I upmixed it to Neural X, went back to multi-channel, upmixed it to Dolby Surround, went back to multi-channel, upmixed it or mixed it with Oro 2D Surround, which, it just basically, it's still five channels.
Well, actually, now wasn't part 3 in Atmos?
That's what I was going to get to. Mine
which
wasn't.
Is weird. Mine was.
Was it?
But it was not in episodes 1 and 2.
Right. I didn't even get that.
But when I was watching episode 3, I was, I glanced down at my Denon there, and I was like, man, this is coming through in Atmos. And so I pulled up the app to double check it, and it's like, yeah, sure enough. So it's really odd that 1 out of the 3 episodes would be mixed in Atmos.
Yeah. I had heard it. I'd heard on, I'd seen the comments on Twitter, and I was like,
really weird.
But I didn't get it. I didn't get the Atmos. So that was weird. But that made me go now, did you notice a substantial difference over the other two?
Not really. Like if I hadn't looked, I don't know that I would have noticed the difference. Like, mine's in my living room. So I kind of like yours is in another room behind a door. So like you wouldn't know unless you checked.
I have to look at the app on my phone.
That's what I mean.
Right.
You have to physically look at it. I just happened to glance down and see that it was in Atmos. Nothing in the sound clued me into really to the fact that it was there. But I do know for a fact that the first 2 episodes were not in Atmos. So
I know.
I don't know.
I know that.
I don't know what was going on there. Maybe they only had money for 1 episode.
Yeah. But again, that goes to show, like the first 2 episodes were really good.
Yeah, for sure.
But getting back to my ABCD, you could take that Oro 2D right out. But definitely it was a noticeable difference going from multi-channel to either Neural X or Dolby Surround. I mean, the sound in the room literally went like Steve says all the time, like wider and higher. Like the room just went whoop, like the bubble just got that much bigger. And then going from Neural to Dolby Surround, I really couldn't tell the difference. I didn't know which one was. It was, I mean, there's speculation, I guess, that Neural actually pumps a little higher to the overheads, maybe a little boost in the bass there. DTS loves that. But I honestly going back and forth with this and using that same, audio track, just back it back up, start again, back it back up, start again. But yes, definitely a very noticeable difference in spatial audio with bumping up to Neural X or Dolby Surround. So that was actually a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to finishing the show.
Yeah, because we get it in on Amazon Prime here because we don't have Peacock over here. And I was just looking then, it doesn't say what that's in. So when I do get around to it, I'll let you know what Amazon's doing with it. Yeah. See whether there's a similar thing with episode 3 there. I'll keep an eye out.
I'll have to try my Amazon Prime over there on my UK.
Yeah, well, that's trying to think. Yeah.
I didn't even look. Yeah.
You were probably on that, John. Your VPN, you might have been getting the Dolby.
Maybe, but I'm pretty sure I opened Peacock. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. That's true. So, All right.
You'll know if it's the English one if you get served a cup of tea with it. And crumpets, otherwise, probably the American version.
Some scones.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. That was good. You ready for your next one here, Steve? You're up, buddy.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the first of this week's Halloween sort of ish movies. This one's kind of Halloween. This is
What the hell was Casper? Just because you don't like it, it's a Halloween movie.
Do you know what, DJ? That's what I thought after I finished watching it last time. What the hell was Casper? Anyway.
Unhinged, I think.
That's not Halloween.
Psychological horror.
It's a horror.
Is it horror?
Yeah.
Depends. If you're that woman, it is.
Depends on the car you're in, but yeah.
Yeah. Was it a horror? I wouldn't call that a horror. I reckon that's a
It was
thriller.
very malicious.
Anyway, it's malicious. Yeah.
Well, as we know, yeah. Well, it didn't say horror. It just said this is like, you know
I
what?
didn't know malicious was a genre.
Yeah.
What genre do you like? Malicious.
Right. Okay, guys. What were the 4 words?
Suspense. Malicious.
Malicious.
That's
Suspense, action,
intense,
and malicious.
Yeah.
There you go. Right. This is man, woman, camera, TV. Anyway, so we're all getting too old. Right. Okay. I just
Getting?
all those words. Yeah. Well, you two are. Obviously, I'm not quite there yet. But that's all right. That's okay.
Oh, but you're pulling up hard on the cranky though.
Yeah.
Well, always.
Poor
always.
Casper.
Not a euphemism. Right. So. Right. Okay. So
talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But now we have an immediate problem, though, guys.
Yeah, we
have
do.
an immediate problem. Yeah. Right. World War what?
Zed.
Z.
Yes. No, I'm with John. World War Z. Thank you very
Well,
much.
I'm just with you.
World War Z.
I say Z as well. But
Yeah. This is World War Z. Come on, guys. Let's,
So are they Zedbees?
English.
Zed.
Yeah,
how do you
well,
say the
Zedbees.
word?
Yeah, well, zombies, zombies, either way. Yes, you say tomato, I say tomato, or vice versa. Let's call the whole thing off. Right. So, World War Z on 4K Blu-ray, in only for DTS 5.1 HD MA, but upmixed to Neural X. This is a Shout factory release, like the Shout Scream label, and I had to import it from the US. No sign of it over here, even though it's a Paramount movie, which you would have thought they would have released simultaneously over there and over here, but no, it's a Shout label release. What do you guys think of the film? Do you like the movie?
I do like the movie, but I've only ever seen the theatrical cut. I know that you
Never seen it.
are a big proponent of the director's cut, right?
Yeah, well, the director's, it's more of an unrated cut in as much as it's just got a bit more blood and a little bit more guts in it. Not a lot more, but a bit more. And if you'd said to me, you've got the choice, do you want the 4K and theatrical or directors or unrated cut? I would have said, I'll have the unrated cut, please. However, they've not done that. So you do get both cuts in the box, but the unrated cut is the Blu-ray, albeit the remastered Blu-ray. And then the 4K disc is the theatrical cut only. There's not, I don't think, any new footage to speak of, or if there is, it's very fleeting. So I got this and watched it the other night. The home theater experience in 4K and with this upmixed to Neural X is really, really good. And I think you've got it, haven't you, Deej, on Kaleidescape? I thought I saw it on your panels there. Is this one of this month's movies? Or
I've got quite a few in the queue that my wife and I are going to watch. This is one I want to see. I've wanted to see it for a while, but like zombie movies or Zed movies, I don't flock to. They're not my cup of tea, but I do like, I like Zombieland, both of them. I do, there are certain ones I do like. But yeah, I want to see, I know it's a good action movie. I know it's fun. Yeah. I just have never gotten around to it. So it's one of those that maybe I'll get to it this year, but I'll see.
Yeah. I mean, this is a sort of horror action movie. it's not. It's never going to be as good as Train to Busan. Train to Busan is the one to see.
That's another one in my queue.
Train to Busan is
watch
the one
that
to
first.
see before. Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
Definitely.
I mean, that is a fantastic film. This is really good. It's a solid Brad Pitt action horror movie, is what I would say. But it's a really solid movie, and those that have seen it, will know, and it is good, and it does something rather unusual, which is its final set piece is a step down, not a step up. It doesn't go up in scale, it goes down. Now, that was because of some production and budgetary issues, but nevertheless, that's what they did. So the film's really good still, and I've seen this probably 10, 12 more times, and I've seen the 3D version. I've got the 3D Blu-ray. I see Jordan talking about that in the chat. I've got the 3D Blu-ray. I've got the old Blu-ray, theatrical unrated, and then now the 4K disc, 4K theatrical, and then the remastered unrated Blu-ray. So the home cinema experience, it's great. Really, really good. So the image quality on this looks like it was made for 4K. It wasn't. It's back in 2013, I think it was, but it looks like it was made for 4K. The extra detail makes the images almost three-dimensional. So much so I actually put a video up on Twitter of some of this, which I do not normally do. Earlier this week, it's normally just pictures, but I put some video up to show how three-dimensional it is. Only briefly, it's there. It looks great. It's got more detail. It's got some shots that are done that are lit with flares, not the 70s trousers or pants as you would call them. Lit with proper flares, and so it's all red and it looks amazing. The wider color gamut really makes it deep red. It's great. And then there is a sequence in Korea which is at night with rain and everything else, and it's inky black, exactly as you want it to be. So it's really, really nice. And there are lots of shots of Brad Pitt with stubble, close-up shots, and you can see each individual hair on his face. It's all great. And the audio is brilliant as well. Really, really good. It upmixes perfectly to Neural X. So the scene in Korea with the rain, as there's rain and storms, Carl would be proud. That's all sort of moving around the room. It's all in the overheads. You can hear some creatures that are moaning, that are stuck, but you can hear them around the room, and it's a really nice kind of atmospheric moment. It's quite creepy, actually, how it works. And there is a plane crash in this. There are speeding cars and vehicles. All that goes right around the room. This is a really good disc. So if you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it and you want the upgrade, this is well worth spending the money on. This cost me £30, I think it was. So about £5 more than an average Blu-ray 4K disc would be here, but it was well worth it. I was really pleased with this. This is the version to see, or the Kaleidescape one, assuming it's the same. So yeah, really, really good and well worth seeing. I really enjoyed this. And I bought this along with Upgrade that I reviewed a couple of weeks ago. And I bought, because I thought, well, I'm getting one, I might as well get two. And I wasn't sure what to expect on this, but actually it's well worth it. This is definitely the one to see. So yeah, it's very cool.
Nice. All right. Yeah, it's I've always heard good things about it, especially the home theater part of it. And like I said, just haven't gotten around to it. So
no, it's
right.
Well worth seeing. Well worth seeing.
Cool. All right. Now we're gonna do. John and I will bring this, keeping on the Halloween trail. I can't wait to hear what you thought of this one.
Actually, all right. Well, let's say what it is first. So this was the Haunted Mansion. I watched it on Disney Plus, Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision. I'm actually glad you watched this because you'll be able to answer some questions for me as far as the physical release. Because I thought this was fantastic when it comes to Dolby Vision, picture, and sound. The movie's the movie. It's a Disney movie. It's super fun. Yeah. It's based on a ride. It's the Haunted Mansion. It's fine. I enjoyed the movie. I would watch it again for sure. But what really struck me was the Atmos on this, and even being a Disney Plus stream. Now I cranked this up to 0.0, so a little bit above -6 because it was a stream. But I kept thinking to myself, I bet you the physical release of this is reference quality when it comes to sound, because this was engaging almost from beginning to end.
Yeah.
With the track. So it sounds like you are saying that I'm right on that with the physical release. So
yeah. It's like, so I watched it it dropped on Kaleidescape, and I grabbed it. Jen and I were going to watch it together. She hasn't had a chance yet. So, but I did want to see this because I did some A/Bing. I went up and watched it on my OLED just to get the picture, because the picture is just so good.
It's so good.
It's ridiculous. And then I was like, I wanted to see, I'm like, I haven't, and I obviously have to run upstairs. And I did the quote, I adjusted the settings myself on the OLED. I haven't had it professionally calibrated, but I mean, it is an OLED, right? Dolby Vision. It's got the whole nine. So I'm like, all right. It looks great there. Totally. You know what was interesting? We've been talking a lot about audio quality and dialogue issues and stuff. It dawned on me watching this upstairs for a little, like I watched a few scenes up there while I was eating dinner the other night, and I had it cranked pretty good. And I have that, the SVS sound base, it's just the amplifier, right? TV goes into that, and then it goes to Ara's speakers that he made me.
Right.
The dialogue is crystal clear.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm wondering if now when I will listen up in my bedroom on a Sonos sound bar, the sound bar is trying to replicate what you get in your theater, right?
Right.
The sound bass, the SVS sound bass, I think is just giving you the two channels, and it's just giving you the quality of dialogue was phenomenal. I was just like, oh my God. And it just dawned on me that since I've installed that, we've never touched anything for like dialogue enhancement. I don't even think it has it, but we never even thought to. And it just dawned, because I know like when I go from my theater to my bedroom and the sound bar, it's like you're getting everything through that. And it's trying to put the rear channel sound out and everything. It just doesn't work. So that aside, but I did know it gave me a good opportunity, turn the lights out and really try to focus. I know it's only a 55-inch, but the picture is awesome. Go back down to the theater and it's like at the, 110-inch screen, masked, of course. It was the picture is amazing, absolutely amazing. It's a lot like, I believe, like what Steve was saying earlier about Across the Spider-Verse, because most of this is CGI, but it's just phenomenal. It's just, I mean, the ghostly wisps that like after they go, the highlights, the darks, the detail in the shadows. It's awesome. But then the audio going back and forth, that's where, I mean, the stream is really, really good. Like I said,
I was so impressed with the stream that I just could not wait to get my hands on a physical release, and which, we'll probably have to watch at Christmas, right? Because who knows?
No, I thought it was next week.
Oh, is it?
I think it's next week.
Oh, maybe it is.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It's like when you see a stream like that and then you go, how can it get better?
What, right?
It lends to, like, you still get the same action around the room on the stream, but it's just like I said earlier, it's just the depth of the sound, the dynamic range, the rumbles in your seat where you'll feel something on the stream, but then on the physical release you'll get the boom and you're like, whoa, okay. Volume is probably relatively the same, maybe a little lower on the stream, but it's just the fullness of sound that you get. That is the big difference. I would say, depending on your system, you would be hard pressed, even A/Bing and going back and forth on the picture. I mean, I'm trying to remember, I don't remember the timestamp on it, but there's a hallway scene when it's hard to describe, but there's like a green glow coming from way down the hall in the background. Mm-hmm. And it's just, the colors are just more rich, right? Like more vibrant and rich when you go back and forth and you jump back and forth with it. So highly recommend the physical disc. But
I think it's going to be great.
It is, and it is really, really good. But again, streaming is getting so good, and they're doing such a good job with this on Disney Plus. It's like, I mean, it looks really, really good. The picture is just, they are so close on matching with picture. It's just the little niceties and like I said, depending on your system, if you're below like 70, 75 inches, you're probably not going to notice a difference because you're compressing down, and that vibrancy, you really need that when you get to a larger picture to be able to show. Right. Otherwise, when you compress it down, everything's going to appear more vibrant anyways. It's awesome.
And like I said, and a fun little movie. Yeah. Like, it's not going to win any Oscars. Like I said, it's not the greatest movie. It's pretty predictable, but it was fun. Like I said, it's a fun Disney movie.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And it's, I hate to say it, Steve, but there's little Casper vibes going on here, kind of, a little bit storyline.
You were just getting me interested in seeing.
I know.
Now you're just going to watch it, and now you had to go there.
It is kind of basically the same story. Oh. It really is. It's a haunted mansion. That's what Casper's about. At the very beginning of Casper, she inherits a haunted mansion.
Whip stuff, man.
So let's go. So, but that's how I saw this after I saw Casper, and I think if I went the other way, I might not have been as impressed with the audio in Casper. But when you have ghosts going around the room and stuff, that's a lot of fun. And this one here, they did it up real right. So.
What I thought was great, and this is no spoiler because it was actually in the trailers, but the beginning of the movie, same thing. Rosario and her son, they show up at this house. He's like, I think something's going on here. And the mom's all, like, oh, it's just your imagination, blah, blah, blah. And then she sees something and she's like, that's it. We're out.
Yeah.
And it's like, because in every horror movie, you're always like, why did they stay in this house? No, obviously, things happen and they end up back there. But it was just so fun. It was so refreshing to see that because you never see that in these horror movies.
Yeah.
And, that was absolutely done on purpose, I'm sure. But, I just thought that was great, though.
Yeah, it was. It was. It is. It's a fun movie. It's a fun family movie too.
It is.
Is it PG-13 because of the scares, or is it PG?
I don't know.
It says 12 plus on the. I was looking on Disney.
So it's probably PG-13.
Yeah.
So sounds about right. Is it a family movie then? Could you watch it with someone under the age of 12? I think you can.
Yeah, there's nothing.
Yeah, it's just scary.
It's just scary. More
it's jump scares. And again, much like Casper, you're dealing with.
There's no adult
themes.
There's no language or anything like that. So it's definitely a family movie, I think.
Yeah, Owen Wilson was good.
I just think little kids might get scared with the ghost, I guess.
Yeah.
So
okay. All right.
Okay. Curiosity piqued.
Really good. It should be. It's an awesome home theater experience. When the disc shows up, you watch horrors or Halloween movies all year long.
I don't know that this is a horror necessarily.
No, it's definitely a Halloween, October type movie for the family.
Definitely a Halloween movie, but it's horror comedy at its best.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So, all right. Here we go. I can't wait to talk about this. Let's see where
what I think it is.
Where is this gonna lead?
Oh, I can't wait to hear it either. I can't wait to hear Steve's opinion of this. So.
Okay, who's going first? Go on, Deej. You do your.
You want me to go first?
I'll be talking all night. Yeah.
All right. So, all right, I'll go first. I watched The Exorcist. We're talking Exorcist here. I did watch it on Kaleidescape. It's 4K UHD, no HDR, but ultra high definition 4K.
Theatrical or director's cut, Deej?
They only have the theatrical in the up converted to 4K and right before this week, it was like 2 days before I was about to watch it, they had updated it to Dolby Atmos as well. So that was nice. That was a nice treat. And this movie is the definition of it's like one. I don't think we what's the term? It's the definition of it, but it's like it never looked better, but we've never seen it this good. What's the difference between the two? And I'd like to elaborate on that. The picture mostly looks good. Okay. But there's a lot of inconsistent grain in this. A lot. And it's heavy at times. Very heavy. And you were just like, my wife and I watched this together and we were like, oh, that looks so good. It's like, it's so nice. And it's like, oh, look at this. Oh, look at and then all of a sudden you were like, whoa, it was just like bad. But most of the time it looks really good. Okay. So we went through the sound on it, I thought was, nice upgrade. It's mostly a quiet movie, lots of quiet scenes, which play really, really well with the Atmos. At the overheads, mostly quiet, nice overhead usage here and there, effects, score, ambient sounds, almost perfect. There were times they're in a park or something. You could literally hear the people around you talking away. Like, not just like murmurs. I'm talking like actual conversations going on around you. Dialogue crystal clear, locked on the screen. I had one timestamp of at 29 minutes, 30 seconds. And this is how good the picture was upgraded. It's like the flame in the attic. So she's using a candle to go through the attic and using it to light her way. And watch the front part of that flame as she moves. It's got a blue hue because as you move through the wind, the flame, it changes the temperature of the flame. It was caught on film. And if you think it's blooming or something, keep watching because she changes direction and the blue switches to the other side. It was really, really good. I timestamped it. I thought it was awesome looking, right? There's a subway scene. All the lights in the subway look like they're surrounded by lightsabers. It was a weird effect, how it like bloomed, but it was a harsh bloom. It was very weird. That's the 4K UHD. I went to the 4K HDR. My wife did too. We jumped to a bunch of these scenes. Exactly the same. Exactly the same. So it wasn't like, I'm like, okay, maybe I got a different cut. Maybe the Kaleidescape's got something different than what's on the disc. It just wasn't it was better than I've ever seen it. And we really, really enjoyed it. But this one, and a lot of people are saying it's never looked better, which is kind of a backhanded compliment because it's like, I think, like when we talk about like Lawrence of Arabia, we say we've never seen it this good. That's the ultimate compliment when you say, even back then in the theaters, there's no way anybody saw Lawrence of Arabia the way we're getting to enjoy it today, right? This movie, I feel like The Exorcist probably on first runs in some cinemas back then maybe looked better than what we're getting today, but it does look really good. But I'm not like blown away by it by any stretch of the imagination. I love the movie. I absolutely love the movie. We couldn't wait to watch it. Seen it many times, but I thought like the gore, a great vibrancy in the blood and the vomit and all the good stuff. I mean, I thought the skin tones looked nice, everything looked nice, but there was just a lot of little things like all of a sudden you'd be like, oh, that doesn't look good. But most of the time you had if this was the first time you ever saw the movie, it'd probably take you right out of it. But knowing I know and love the movie, it was, it was a lot of fun, but very, very inconsistent picture wise. Steve?
I'll say that's, before Steve jumps in, I haven't seen this yet, but I have heard nothing but praise for the audio and video quality in regard to this movie. Every review I've looked at has praised it. So it's surprising to hear you say that with
especially
the video.
Me.
Yeah. But I'm curious to see, because this is a first watch for Steve. That's why I was really curious to see
really?
what he thought about it.
Yep.
So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so now, sorry, so is it just the Kaleidescape version that you watched it, or did you watch it on disc as well? From that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah,
we went back and literally that same day, I'm like, I got to see, because I watched it on Kaleidescape first, and I was just like, I was so like disappointed that I'm like, oh man, I can't not. And like I said, for me to be disappointed, it's just like we had a blast with it. And that's why we were able to go back through it. And we didn't watch it like word for word, frame for frame the next time, but we were like, okay, oh yeah, watch the scene. And then we'd fast forward and then we watched that scene on disc. And we saw all the same issues. All the same issues that we had before. Like I said, that subway scene, that that the flame didn't look any better on disc. So I'm thinking 1 for 1. And to be fair, I'm thinking maybe the Lumigen's helping with the non-HDR. So it's kind of bumping that up a little bit, giving me some, but I would say, but the disc is HDR. I didn't see any extra like detail in anything. In black levels, in backgrounds or anything. It's pretty high contrast movie anyways. So it's Steve, what did you think?
Okay, so this is the very first time I had seen the film. I think John and I were texting about it, and I think I'd said about it, but when this film came out initially in the UK, it was banned, and it was only being shown in very, very small theaters that were prepared to risk upsetting the council and the local authorities by showing it. And at that point, I was in New Zealand anyway. So it was banned here. When it eventually got a theatrical release, which was end of 98, beginning of 99, I was working in a cinema here while I was finishing off my law degree. And by that point, it had been lampooned and it had been imitated, and it was a bit of a joke. And unfortunately, the patrons that were coming in to see it, the customers coming to see it, I was hearing lots of tales of them coming out laughing and having laughed during the movie and thinking it was funny. And so that put me off it. And I thought, do you know what? Because I'm not massively into the possession type genre anyway, the subgenre of horror. And I thought, I'm going to avoid it because maybe it is silly then. And I'd heard about the head spinning round and all this stuff and the crucifix scene as well. So I never saw it. And I never saw the DVD when it came out. And I never saw the Blu-ray when it came out. And then recently the 4K disc has been released here. And I thought, well, if I'm ever going to see it, now's the time. So I picked up the 4K disc, and in the UK, the 4K disc has got 2 discs. It's got the theatrical in 4K UHD, and then the extended director's cut in 4K UHD, which is the one I watched. I thought, well, if I'm going to see it, I might as well see all of it. So in terms of the film, I was very, very pleasantly surprised. I thought this was exceptional. And I can see why there are people that say this is a masterpiece. I'm not quite going that far after one viewing, but I can see where people are coming from that say it's one of the best films ever made and it's a masterpiece, because I think it is exceptional. And there is a critic over here, a guy, I mean, the British guys in the chat will know. It's a guy called Mark Kermode, who is a UK critic. He's world famous, but he's particularly well known here. And The Exorcist is his favorite film. And he's done documentaries on it, and he's written books on it. And he is, always talking about The Exorcist. And I see why now, having seen it. I thought it was great. And really enjoyed it. And I was engaged throughout. I didn't find it funny. I didn't think it was hokey. I didn't think this was a joke at any point. I thought it was really well done. Yeah, so that was good news. And one of the reasons I think I liked it so much is because I thought, bearing in mind I've got no baggage with this movie, so I've never seen it before. And bearing in mind this movie is 50 years old.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got no baggage with it, not seen it before, nothing to compare it with. I thought this disc was fantastic. And I would say, bar from 1 or 2 shots, and I mean that literally, bar from 1 or 2 shots, I thought this was an example of how to remaster a movie of this type and of this budget. This is a way to do it. I thought after 1 or 2 shots, I know, DJ, I know. But this goes along with what John is saying in terms of he'd heard good things about it, because that's exactly what I felt. There are a couple of shots. There is the maybe I misheard what was said about someone shucks clocks in hell Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah,
I might have heard. Maybe. Now that particular shot, and that's a famous line. Is it ultra grainy? That shot is ultra grainy. Yep, dark. It's crush. It's grainy as heck. You can barely make out what's going on. One shot, and it goes. Other than that, and a couple of others, I thought it was very good indeed. And I mean, the opening of this movie in Iraq looks absolutely stunning.
The bright scenes really did.
Yeah, well,
except for the one, there was one pan coming in on the city. It was a wide shot of the city, and you could see like their where they were staying. Was it Washington? I think it was in their little their house, whatever it was. Right. It was like the sky. My wife's like, it looks like it's moving. Like not clouds, like it's all like all like it was. Go ahead. But it was there were a bunch of it. There was a handful, I should say. It wasn't like again. It's not awful. I'm just saying there was more than one.
But of course there are a lot of optical transitions in this, and when you have optical transitions, grain is always heavier anyway, and there are a number of those because that's just how they composited them back in the day. So that's baked in. There's not much you can do about that. And there are a number of times where suddenly the grain will get heavy. It'll optical transition, grain again on the other side, and then it's gone. So I don't give it any grief for that because that Lawrence of Arabia has that as well. And so I thought image quality wise, it was every bit as good as I could reasonably have expected. The opening is awesome. The close-ups you can see again. I put pictures on Twitter. The close-ups of Father, not Father Karras. It's Father. Who's the older guy? Not Max van Sydow. Anyway, his Father Merrin.
Yeah, he's only 43 in this.
Yes, well, you can see the makeup.
Ridiculous, and it's like, but they made him look just like he looked. Well, right before he died.
Like he looks now.
It's like he died in 2020, I think. Now. Yeah.
But there are close-ups on his fingers, and you can see the ridges of his fingerprints. And then it cuts to like exhibits in this thing, and you can see every single mark on them. It's three-dimensional. It's detailed as hell. It was fantastic for a 50-year-old movie. Yeah. And then it goes on and okay, there is grain. Of course there is. It's shot on film. What are you going to do if you remove the grain? Everyone goes, oh, it's DNR'd. So you've got to leave the grain intact to give it its texture. And it's still, there is detail in the facial features. There's detail in the cracks of the pavement, in the brickwork of the house, of the steps. I mean, Washington's never looked more unappealing than in this movie. Everything looks horrible. Like you never want to lose it. And I thought that was exceptional. And even when you get to the sillier things like the green vomit, it didn't take me out of it. I still just thought, okay, that's what it is. Even with the puppet thing, when the turning of the head, I assume they didn't really turn Linda Blair's head right round. So assuming that's a puppet, even that still looks good. It's still well done. I was never taken out of this movie, other than that one shot, by any detractions in image quality. And I would say, again, all those caveats notwithstanding, this is an example of how to do a 50-year-old movie and not radically change the texture of the image, because you can't do it both ways.
But that's
in the grain or get rid of it and then have DNR.
But that's the problem I have, though. Is like, if I'm gonna be fair to all the movies, it's like they've, you look at older movies than this. You look at like Psycho, and you look at, which was a budget, right? And it's like, it's like pristine. There's not a bad frame in that movie since being up, going to 4K. And again, like we said about like Casablanca and going Lawrence of Arabia, Bridge on the River Kwai. I mean, in this movie here, I just felt like it was so, it's one of those things that it's because it's The Exorcist, right? It's because of the lore of the movie, and it is a great movie that I feel like, and of all people, me, that like, I'm like, come on, give it a break. It's The Exorcist. But I feel like, and I didn't even know when I was seeing this, and my wife and I are like, I didn't know that it was getting great praise. For all I knew, I was on the same path. I honestly thought you were going to say the same thing. But what happens is, and it's great that you said, Steve, you have no you have no lore, you have no history with this.
There's no frame of reference.
But you do know the history of the movie, and you know it's a historic movie, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's why people are like, it's never looked better than this. And it's like, well, that's one way of putting it. But if this didn't have the history behind it, right? What would we say? This one suffers from a 4K upgrade. It's showing the flaws of the film. But we're not saying that. People aren't saying that. And people in the chat are like, it looks phenomenal. It looks fantastic. I'm like, when you actually watch it though, and I'm not that guy of all people, but when you watch it, it's like there are too many flaws to say that it's phenomenal, fantastic, and this. It does have grain. It does have the inconsistency throughout because it was a lower budget film. And it's like, yes, it's never looked better than this. They did a great job, with the restoration of it. The audio mix is like, Psycho in DTSX. This getting Atmos, it wasn't wonky at all. It wasn't like, overdone. That's crazy. This is the way it should be heard, right? But the picture, I was just like, I've seen older stuff done better. I've seen, and of course, by comparison of stuff we've seen, it just doesn't hold up. It looks great. It looks better than it ever has. But I would say it's one of those where you go, ooh, that's, 4K is kind of exposing some stuff that maybe we didn't know before. And now we're just like, we love the movie. So,
yeah. Whereas I thought the picture quality of it, the image quality coming to it cold was exceptional. And I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it to people to see it. I mean, whether it's the first time or the 100th time, I can't imagine this movie ever looking as good as this. And so therefore, get it, see it, buy it. Now that's the picture. I had no issue with the picture quality other than that one shot, and that disappeared so quickly. It was not any issue to me. It's a 2-hour movie. And that came and went. I was like, fine, no problem with that at all. It was not at any point taken out of the movie by its look, never. Now, the audio then, we are 100% in agreement with the Atmos. The Atmos track on this is exceptional for a 50-year-old movie. And I think you've got to just keep saying that to yourself. What the heck? This would have been mono when it was released, if that. And, no one ever envisaged that this film could be presented in this way.
Yeah.
And I think the audio on this brought me into the movie as well. I mean, it's a character in this version. The audio is a character in the film. The buzzing and the noise at the opening of Iraq, and the noise, you could hear the wind, you could hear, again, conversations when they're digging, you can hear things going off camera, people are digging, there's conversations going on. The subway scene, you can hear distant echoes of other trains. It moves, it's got a life of its own. And when you then get into, and one particular scene that stood out to me is when you get the one in the bedroom when the entity throws like the records and stuff all around. That is completely around the room. It felt like you were in this room and these things are being thrown around and it's bouncing off the walls and it's all this sort of stuff. I thought that was fantastic. And there's no complaints from me at all about the audio. Not that I've got many complaints about the video, but I thought this was such a good track. And again, a textbook example of how to update a 50-year-old movie for today's audiences and just let it run riot. It was good. There's never an issue with any of the audio. And bearing in mind, the audio has been heavily manipulated because I did look at IMDb after this. And it's not her talking. It's someone else who drank whiskey and smoked cigarettes just to drop her voice. And all that kind of stuff. And yet it's never unintelligible. You're never thinking, well, what was that said? What was that done? And bear in mind, you've got people shouting and you've got all this atmospheric stuff. And yet the dialogue's never dropped out. I found it exceptional. Really, really enjoyed the presentation of a film that I've been curious about for a long time, and now finally can tick this off my list of movies that I should have seen that haven't, especially as a horror fan. So I excuse me. I recommend this endlessly. I mean, it needs to be purchased. I think it would be churlish to go.
I bought it twice.
All right, don't do that. It's no need to be like that. No need to be like that just because we're disagreeing.
I bought it. No, but that's the thing. It's like when I don't like it, everybody.
How many times did you buy it? Was it twice or was it All right, well, you could have bought it 4 times.
Yeah. Well, hey.
Or once.
It's no bloodshot.
Yeah.
Not just bloodshot. Yeah. It's not bloodshot.
Yeah. I just thought it was great.
It's a must own, I think. Yeah, I think it's a must own. Yeah. But I'm just like I said, it's like to be fair, it's like I'm not going to ignore the things that we saw. My wife and I saw, and we're like, oh, okay. But I mean, it has never looked better, and it is fun when they take a movie like that. Like you said, yes, that's the screenshot, and that's why I put up the
4K disc. Yeah, that's my screenshot.
The 4K disc. Yeah, and then Kaleidescape only has the theatrical version, and that's why when I actually see, and I can zoom in on it. And you can see it says original theatrical version on Kaleidescape. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, and the 4K disc has both. So you've got 2 discs, one with theatrical, one with direct.
I looked into the background on Kaleidescape, and the extended director's cut is there. It just says not available. It's like grayed out. Like if you go on to the menu of Kaleidescape, like onto the menu of the actual movie, and you go down and go to extras, there's a whole bunch of extras and stuff that you get with it. But then you ask, it says like other versions, and it says extended director's cut, and it's just grayed out, and it's not available yet. So we'll probably end up with it.
It's probably coming.
Yeah, probably coming. I mean, literally just got Atmos like the day or two before and it's funny because I bought the disc because it had Atmos. This didn't, but this was 4K. I definitely wanted to compare the video being UHD and HDR. I didn't see a difference, especially on a movie this old. I don't think they really, I mean, judging by the way it was shot, it is high contrast, which is another reason for that grain is when you shoot it like that, that's gonna happen. I don't think you could really pull HDR out of this. There wasn't much to utilize there because of the backgrounds and stuff, but it did still.
The opening stuff. Is
the opening look, and I even said, like when you mentioned his fingers and the fingerprints, I said it out loud and pointed at the screen. I'm like, look at that! It looks amazing. Like, I mean, his fingertips look 3D. They look that good. Yeah. And that's why I said most of the movie looks like that, especially the brighter scenes. And again, the blood and the vomit and all of these extra, like the vibrancy in those in the colors was really nice too. Really, really nice. It's definitely a must own, but it's not, to me, it's like that textbook. How to do it? I don't know. I think I would point to, like I said, like a Psycho or, a Lawrence of Arabia or Bridge on the River Kwai, something like that. I loved, and I was just like, oh my God, this looks like a film.
I love Bridge on the River Kwai. When did you last watch the 4K disc of that, Deej?
Oh, when it came out a while ago. I've been meaning to get to it on Kaleidescape
2016, 2017. If you rewatch that, I think you'd be surprised at the grain levels in that. There's heavy grain in that.
And Steve, I'm the one that, I'm like, oh, you got to get used to it. Like Karate Kid. I was like, yeah, I saw you rave about that one. We've talked about it way back. Right. And I was like, once you're used to it, it can wash over and you're fine with it. This one, and that's what was so difficult for me. It was like, there was some shots that you said, like 3D fingertips, and then you go, grain. And then it was like, it was more than one shot. And it's like, I'll be interested to see what John sees it, what he sees.
This is what I was going to say.
I'll have to pick it up. I haven't picked it up yet.
The other thing is not, I don't want to, I'm not trying to, what's the term? Boast or anything. It could be that grain could be inherent. Like you're a smaller screen. It's a, what are you, 75?
Yeah.
Right. 75. You blow that up to 110 or John's 123 and you look at that, it's like that now that grain gets bigger, right? So it's like maybe that could be it too. It's like if I drop that back down, it's going to be less of a consequence to the overall picture. So that could be it too. And that is a factor for people when you see these things. And it's like grain, it's like if you have a heavy grain in something and it's on a smaller screen, that heavy grain is just flat out going to be crushed into small, it's going to be smaller anyways, right? If you go down to a 50-inch, it's probably almost not even noticeable, right? So do you see what I mean? So that could be part of it too. It's always something to take into effect,
Yeah. Well, like I said, it'd be interesting to see what John made. I hope, John, you pick it up soon. I'll be curious as a fan of the film, I'm curious to get your kind of view of it as well.
Oh, I was planning to get it this month for October. So
but I was so pleased with it. And again, I've got all those other movies as well. I've got, I've seen, fantastic examples of older films, and I would put this in that list. I mean, you put a list on Twitter, didn't you? And I'll put it up with Lawrence of Arabia and Gandhi and say Bridge on the River Kwai, Enter the Dragon, movies that are
Enter the Dragon. That was
older films
one.
that have been redone, and yet they look fantastic. And I personally would put this amongst that lot. I mean, all right, Lawrence of Arabia and Gandhi are probably that bit higher, but still. This goes in there for me, and albeit on a first watch, I loved it. I really did. I thought I'd almost the contrarian in me, the lawyer in me, that's an argumentative sod, right? Because I'm paid to be argumentative, and I thought as I watch this, I'm going to be like, it's not that great. Ugh, isn't that stupid? No, look how bad that acting is. That's what I thought I'd be like. But as I watched it, I was just dragged into it. And the whole movie, by the time it ended, I'm like, wow, really enjoyed that. It was really, really good. I'm just so glad to have finally discovered this film after 15 years.
Been hiding on you.
Little known movie. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like Christmas Vacation. He can only watch it after his birthday, and that only happens every year.
Well, interestingly, I'm not sure how many more movies there are that everybody's seen that I haven't. There was The Godfather 2, there was this, and then Christmas Vacation was slightly different, that I'd never seen. But off the top of my head, I can't think of any others now that everyone. Oh, actually, Parasite I haven't seen yet. I've got it in 4K, and I haven't seen it yet, and everybody says it's amazing. So I need to see that. I've got that. That's one. But I think everything else, people have seen it. I've seen the classics.
Ten Commandments. There's another one. That one was very well restored. That one was.
Yeah, it was. And Spartacus as well.
Yep. Yes, Spartacus. Beautiful. Those are all bright, though. They're so bright, so they lend themselves to
Panavision.
Yes,
70 millimeters as well.
Yeah, so that the film stock that they have that they can utilize, it helps, and that's what I think. And everything you said is correct. It's like you're going to have that grain, but that's like. On a lesser thought of movie, we'd be like, maybe they shouldn't have done this, But on this one, you're like, oh, this is awesome because we all wanted it, and it does. It looks fantastic. So,
not everyone's keen on us discussing it.
It's fucking Exorcist. Well, it is the end of the show, Steve. So, I mean, we're wrapping up here, so it's either with this or we're out. So,
well, I'm not done actually.
Oh, you aren't? You got another one?
I do.
I don't have any more images.
Oh.
What was your other one?
It doesn't matter because I was just going to... It was Hellraiser, which the photo is in.
Yes, you have. Yeah. I've seen the
I didn't see it. Okay. When did you add it?
We've got time.
Yesterday.
You added it yesterday?
I added it yesterday. Doesn't matter because we'll make this very quick. Hellraiser 2022 was on Hulu. 5.1, I believe, UHD.
Give me a sec.
This was hot garbage. That's all that needs to be said.
Oh, all right. I'm not even going to put it in the notes.
Don't need to find the image. This was garbage. Enough said. I thought the movie was terrible. I thought the stream was terrible. It was dark. It was muddy. It was hard to see what was happening. The sound was fine. It was up mixed to Neural X. It was fine. Don't waste your time if you haven't seen it. I did not. I couldn't recommend it at all. I thought it was terrible. So
yeah. I'll just get you the quick image up there. So
the original Hellraiser has been re-released in 4K, hasn't it? I think released.
I think it has.
I thought it was last year or the year before.
Yeah. I quite enjoyed the original. For what it was. I liked the original movie. I don't know if I ever saw the second one. I did see. I think the third one was Hellraiser in Space. I remember vaguely watching that one. So I didn't follow the whole franchise. But I kept meaning to watch this one. And finally yesterday I was like, I'll throw it on and watch it. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's good to know that because this is one that would have kind of made me think, is it worth a go? I mean, I like the original. I don't love it.
Well, same. Yeah.
Unsettling and weird and it's a bit too sexual for me. It's kind of strange. There's a weird crossover between the kind of the physical side of it and the sensual side of it that I've always found a bit grubby. It's weird and I find that unsettling and not in the way the film I think intends it to be.
Right.
And it's this sort of psychosexual kind of thing to it. It's a bit odd, but I like the film, and it's got some very messed up bits in it. I might pick up the 4K eventually. I don't think it's out here. I think it's only out in the US. But yeah, sounds like that's the better one anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Yeah, like I said, I didn't enjoy it. So I really wasn't even going to finish it, but I didn't feel like it was right to talk about it on the show without seeing.
First 10 minutes were great.
But yeah, I kind of was in and out. I got up and started making dinner, and just had one eye on the TV through about 20 minutes of it. Yeah,
you would not have done that with the original, would you? You wouldn't go and make sort of with bits of meat after you have dinner after you watch the original.
Wasn't cutting up any sausage or anything,
No.
So anyway. Now we can wrap it up.
All right, let's go out on a high note then. Well, next week we have this in the queue, so this will be good. And this is Joker from 2018. Is that 2018?
2019. 2019 was my film of 2019.
Yeah,
favorite film.
Yeah, I had a blast with this one. I can't wait.
Yeah.
So good.
Lots to talk about. Of course, it's very topical because not only is it a year until the sequel comes out. Obviously, Ridley Scott has had a few things to say over the weekend, so we can have a little chat about that as well.
Or you can just follow him along on Twitter.
Yes,
chat's going strong over there.
It is. It is.
All right, that should do it for now, right? Anything else? You drop another one in, John?
I didn't. No, but that was there yesterday. To be fair,
and,
it was. It was before I put Joker in.
Yeah,
yeah.
No, it wasn't. It's in after. No, it's not because it came up after. Look in the list because the list goes as they drop in. Look in the list.
The listeners don't care about this. We'll do this after the show.
Or the show notes I sent you to say check this.
Yeah,
it's not there either.
It's not in there. Oh man,
see.
Pay that much attention to them, to be honest with you.
Well, that's why I send them to you, and you gave me a thumbs up.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
To be fair, it's like.
All right, well, you might be right. You can win this one. All right, that's fine.
I put the show notes together for that reason, so that I can put everything in order, because I have a whole other file where I can drop them in and make them in order. And then I was like ready to wrap the show, and I was like, I got another one. I was like, it's not in the notes. I'm like, what? I didn't see it.
Name's not down. You're not coming in.
Right. Let's end on some tension.
No tension.
Tune in next week to see if we're all still together. All right. Thank you, everybody in the chat. They're carrying on their own conversations, which I think is fantastic. I'm trying to keep up with them. We're pulling stuff out. We'll talk about it. But yeah, thank you. Having fun in the chat. And all the Patreon supporters, I'll see you Monday night. And Tuesday, interview with Greg, sitting down on a Takeover Tuesday. He has an Anthony Gramani installed system with Gramani speakers and blah, 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 blah. I don't want to give it away, but spoilers, it's awesome. The theater, not my podcast. So, but yeah, check that out. And until then, we'll be live on Tuesday again. So what do you got to do until then?
Go push play.
What he said.
There we go.
Hey, Fred. This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.